What's up, you fucks? Welcome to this week's episode of Terror Reels.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Today we're going to start with one of the most hated movies in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, Freddy's Dead. If you're one of the people who hate this movie, you're a bum and a bitch. Well, yes, this movie is what happens when you mix horror and Toontown from Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but it's such a fun movie. The kills in this movie are a good time, and how are you going to hate on a movie that has Tom Arnold, Johnny Depp, and Alice Cooper in it? You fucking can't. And the last part's in 3D. Granted, it's that shit old school red and blue 3D, but still fresh nonetheless. I'll never understand the hate this movie gets, but fuck it. Let's get on with the review. We come into this nightmare with John Doe, played by Sean Greenblatt, who supposedly played Jacob, the dream child from the last movie, but that idea was cut out early on, thank fucking god. Anyways, the flight John is on is having a bit of turbulence, and he's being a big pussy about it.
Don't be a pussy.
Ha! Palmer acted fast and sucked that bitch through the roof before John got sucked out of the bottom of the plane. Don't worry though, this was a nightmare, and he wakes up in his own bed. Or does he? The house is falling to the ground, and this is all starting to feel a bit too familiar.
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little soul too.
See, this is why I love this movie. Freddy's just a cartoonish asshole. The house lands, not even on a witch, as it shoots John out through the window and onto Elm Street. Guess what's across the street? The Elm Street house. This scares John and he goes running. He hops over this fence just to tumble down a big ass hill for no reason. This tumble lasts longer than it needed to, but it leads John to the Springwood City line where he buys a ticket from producer Robert Shea. Robert freaks John out and he backs away, only to get hit by a bus. Of course, Freddy's driving this bus as his second appearance as a bus driver in this franchise, I might add.
No screaming while the bus is in motion.
Freddy slams on the brakes, and that sends John flying over the city line, and through this weird portal thing, and John lands on a rock. Freddy investigates this perfectly John Doe-sized cutout portal doorway, but it closes up on him. Freddy doesn't care though, he has a plan.
Now be a good little doggy and go fetch.
We cut to Spencer, played by Bklyn Menace, at the Recovery House Youth Shelter, ignoring his dad. I guess that Spencer is a fuck up, but his dad isn't much better. His dad gives Maggie, played by Lisa Zane, some shit about the work they've done on his kid. Apparently not much, because Maggie is sharing a pipe bomb that was found in Spencer's room. All of a sudden, Tracy, played by Leslie Dean, comes running down the hall while being chased by security for beating up some kid because he was hitting on her. The police find John Doe in an alleyway as he's eating Sta Awake pills. We cut over to Tracy working the punching bag with her friend Carlos, played by Ricky Dean Logan. Spencer shows up and they talk about their plan of escape. We find Maggie talking to the resident doc, played by Yefet Kato. They talk about some psychological bibble babble and about their dreams. Doc then explains this new piece of art he has hanging up on the wall. I think it symbolizes foreshadowing?
Green demons.
The calls from earlier bring John Doe to talk to Maggie. I guess that rock to the head fucked up John because he's flying off the rails, has amnesia, and wants to stay away.
Look, do you have any, caffeine pills or coffee, maybe some Coke? I meant the soda.
Sure you do, John. Sure you do. Maggie goes through John's belongings and notices a cutout news article about a missing woman from Springwood. The water tower in the background is recognizable to Maggie. Water drips onto John's face from a leaky pipe above him, and it quickly turns into blood. He follows a little girl out of the room and walks up the stairs. In the real world, he's walking up some invisible stairs. The little girl leads him into a room that holds something very valuable to him.
Free me, you idiot! I'm your fucking memory!
John backs up in fright and accidentally pushes the security guard out the window. Don't worry though, this window is somehow only like a foot off the ground. Maggie and John take a van out to Springwood to try to jog John's memory. John falls asleep and sees a little girl in his dreams in the middle of the road. He freaks out and grabs the wheel, causing the van to spin out, slamming Spencer, Tracy, and Carlos from the back of the van. Good escape plan, guys. They roll up to the most depressing fair I have ever seen. John realizes that this town fair has no kids. What type of fair doesn't have kids? Out of fucking nowhere, Roseanne Barr comes and starts being a creep with these kids. But then Tom Arnold comes and tells her, get the fuck away from these kids or they'll bring him. The bell rings and Tom Arnold blames these kids.
Now see what you done did!
Tracy, Carlos, and Spencer take the van to return home. They seem to keep circling around and Tracy asks for the map.
Yeah, well, the map says we're fucked.
Back at the school, we see this teacher just rambling on about Freddy. Maggie opens Freddy's scrapbook and notices that the article she has fits perfectly into one of the cutouts from the scrapbook. Did you see the fucking chalkboard? Freddy kills Elvis. Freddy aligns with the Saxons. He sails the ocean blue. Hiroshima and Nagasaki failed attempts. What the fuck has Freddy been doing in this alternate timeline? Anyways, they do end up learning something useful from this guy, and that Freddy has a kid, so John thinks the kid is him. Cut over to Van Gang, still fucking lost and passing the statue they've passed about 100 times now. They say fuck it and find a house to sleep in. This house looks normal and empty enough. Seems like a good house to squat in for the night. As they enter, the house explodes into the fucking Elm Street house. Didn't see that one coming. Carlos finds a bed to dream on, but then he gets woken up by Tracy. He goes to find Tracy, but makes a turn into an alleyway. His mom pops up behind him. She doesn't like the way her son never listens. She turns into Freddy and pulls out about a 3-foot long Q-tip to clean his ears out. Now you think an object straight through the brain would kill a man, but not Carlos. Then Freddy decides to cut Carlos' hearing aid and throw him through a fucking wall. Carlos can't hear shit, and Freddy loves that. Freddy drops Carlos his hearing aid, but now it's some monster hearing aid and it latches to his head. Now he has supersonic hearing. He drops a single pin and it sounds like the dropping of the atomic bomb. Luckily, Carlos catches it before it hits the ground. Plunges isn't enough though. Freddy drops a handful of pins and Carlos just hits the ground. He thought Freddy fucked up, but nope, Freddy just had to get his chalkboard for Carlos.
Nice hearing from you, Carlos.
These writers never smoked a joint because it doesn't make you see zombies on your broken TV. And it definitely does not make you see Johnny Depp doing an anti-drug ad.
This is your brain on drugs. Questions?
And then got into Vita plays and sucks Spencer into this tripped out world. Freddy decides to literally play with Spencer's life. Freddy thinks he's playing this game with power, but Spencer eats an apple and beats the next boss. Freddy is in love with this game.
Great graphics.
As she realizes she's where the water tower is, Spencer flies through the wall. Spencer bounces around this house as Freddy plays with him in the game. Meg can't believe what's going on.
Well, what do you call that? Rational?
Tracy knocks John the fuck out with a piece of wood so he can get into the dream world. Tracy just meditates in the dream world. A lot easier, huh, John? Tracy kicks the controller out of Kruger's hand and unplugs the controller. Don't worry, Kruger has backup.
Get out of here now, Tracy! Now!
Hey, you forgot the power glove.
Just so you know, Nintendo did not give New Line Cinema the rights to use the power gloves, but fuck it. Kruger kills Spencer by towel whipping him and sending him down the stairs into the butthole of hell. For whatever reason, this makes the TV fill up with blood.
To beat my high score.
The soul of Spencer flies into Freddy, and Tracy kung fu's her way up to Freddy and kicks him in the dick. Maggie wakes Tracy up in just the nick of time, but John is still in the dream world. As they try to leave Springwood, John wakes up in his bed again. And this was all a dream. See? Oh shit, the house launches up, leaving John. John wakes up again, and this time he decides just to stay in bed.
Damn it!
Well, that's fucked. He jumps out of the window and uses his shirt as a parachute. When he pulls the cord on his chute, he flies out of the car, having them stop right before they leave Springwood. Freddy keeps John alive long enough to tell him that he's in fact not his father, but that his kid was a girl. John plummets to his death onto a bed of spikes like he's fucking Wile E. Coyote. Another soul goes into Kruger as Kruger flies into Maggie's head so Kruger can travel outside of Springwood for the first time. They drive through the plate glass dimension and go back home. Maggie talks to her boss about John Doe, but no one fucking remembers him or the other kids, except for Doc.
Fucking with the line between dreams and reality. He didn't just kill Carlos and the others. He erased them.
Maggie drives to her mom's house and finds the adoption papers on herself. She's putting it all together. Maggie has a dream where she's being chased around by her dad. Same vision she's had a few times throughout this movie. It shows that her mom found out what her husband's been doing. If you haven't figured it out by now, Maggie is really Kruger's daughter, and we get to see inside of Kruger's boiler room. Maggie leaves the room dressed up as she did when she was a kid. Kruger reveals Maggie's real name to be Catherine and explains that she was the one who could take Kruger out of Springwood. And since they took her away from him, he took all their kids from them. And now he plans on world domination.
Every town has an Elm Street.
We flash over to Tracy's dream. As she's washing her face, she ends up in her childhood home. Piece of shit dad walks through their bras, begins to get creepy with his daughter. She begins beating the ever-living fuck out of him with an iron. This doesn't faze him too much because, of course, he's Freddy. She begins to kung fu fight Freddy, but he's not impressed.
Kung Fu. This, bitch!
She realizes she has to wake up and burns her arm to wake herself up. Krieger tricks Doc into thinking that Tracy is stuck in a locker, but Doc ain't playing this shit and beats Krieger with a baseball bat. And when Doc tries to see if Krieger's dead, he gets up and gives Doc a history lesson.
This is my favorite. They even tried holy water.
As Krieger explains how the dream demons gave him his job, Doc grabs a piece of his sweater and pulls it out in the real world. They realize you can bring him out of a dream if you just hold on to him when you wake up. Doc gives Maggie some 3D glasses to help her out. Now, when this was in theaters, and when you could first buy it to watch it at home, the movie was 3D from this point forward. Shit must have been pretty rad. Maggie goes to sleep and puts on the glasses and walks through the dream demon doorway and into Freddy's brain. This is pretty fucking dumb, but whatever. We see a young Krieger kill a mouse with a fucking mallet in school. We flash forward to a slightly older Krieger cutting himself and killing his abusive dad, who's played by Alice fucking Cooper. We flash forward to when all the parents killed Krieger and the dream demons gave him his powers.
We know what you want. I want it all! Of course you do.
Then open up.
And you shall be forever!
We go back to the memory of Krieger killing his wife after she found out what Freddy has done. Krieger creeps behind Maggie. Maggie bashes him in the face with a pipe and grabs him as Doc wakes her up. Where the fuck is he though? They run in the basement where they've locked up all the weapons the kids in the home got caught with. Hell yeah, they even have a spiked baseball bat, one of my favorite all-time weapons. Maggie finds an unburnt Krieger laying on the ground like a coward. But don't fall for it, Maggie, it's a trap.
Come to daddy.
She hits Krieger in the ribs and then knocks his glove off. Then Krieger is off and says some rude ass shit.
I didn't need a glove to kill your bitch of a mother. And I don't need one now.
Krieger chokes the fuck out of Maggie, but she comes with a headbutt and slashes Krieger's face. They tussle on the ground, and Krieger almost overtakes Maggie. Then she bites his fucking nasty nose, and then breaks all of his fingers. Tracy starts sliding weapons to Maggie through the fence, and she starts going to town on Krieger. Even shoots him in the knee with a fucking crossbow. After stabbing a crowbar into his body, she takes the glove and puts it on.
Go ahead. Put it on.
Maggie goes and fucking guts Krieger with his own glove. Tracy tosses the pipe bomb that was confiscated from Spencer earlier in the movie, and she jams it into his body. They run the fuck away. He explodes, and that's that.
Freddy's dead.
What a fucking fun movie that was. I know the story isn't great, and it's silly as fuck, but it was so much fun. Apparently fucking Peter Jackson, you know the director of fucking Dead Alive, Meet the Feebles, and a little series you might know called Lord of the fucking Rings, wrote a script for this fucking movie, but it was passed on early. Could you imagine having a Nightmare movie directed by Peter Jackson? That'd been fucking intense. This is the last installment of the Nightmare on Elm Street series, but Freddy doesn't die here. We still have Wes Craven's new Nightmare to cover, so hold your crucifixes tight and don't fall asleep until I review that more.